You think you know Arizona. Sand, cacti, tumbleweeds blowing across some dusty road, right? Yeah, but it's not the whole story, not even close. Arizona is a travel destination where you can find some of the most bizarre, beautiful, and downright surreal landscapes in the U.S. It's got snow-covered mountains, a mile-wide crater made by a meteor 50,000 years ago, and of course, America's most famous landmark. Arizona is strange, but it's never dull, and the numbers speak. Over 46 million visitors last year are proof that the secret's already out. Located in the American Southwest, Arizona shares borders with California, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, and Mexico. It is the sixth largest state in the United States, covering over 114,000 square miles, and is notable for its dramatic elevation shifts. Arizona's transport network is robust and accessible. Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport serves as the state's primary gateway. Tucson and Flagstaff also support regional air travel. The state is intersected by major interstate highways, but you should take the mythic Route 66 if you prefer a more cinematic entrance. Arizona was the last of the contiguous 48 states to join the Union, earning statehood in 1912. By then, the Wild West was already being mythologized in novels, dime store paperbacks, and traveling shows. But Arizona was still living it. This was a land of gunfighters, mining booms, land grabs, and bloody skirmishes between settlers and native peoples, many of whom were being violently displaced or confined to reservations. Today, the Navajo Nation, the largest reservation in the U.S., extends across northeastern Arizona into Utah and New Mexico. The region's history is both romanticized and stained, and Arizona doesn't hide that. It leans into it. The Grand Canyon is not just a hole in the ground, it's a wound in the earth. A 277-mile-long scar sliced by the Colorado River over millions of years. The canyon is in northern Arizona and cuts through the Colorado Plateau like a gash. Most of what people visit is inside Grand Canyon National Park, which was established in 1919. But the canyon itself is ancient. Geologically, we're talking 5 to 6 million years old. Altitudes range from 2,000 to 8,000 feet, and the temperature can change by 30 degrees between the rim and the river. From above, it's hard to grasp. From below, it's overwhelming. You're dwarfed by the walls, colors shifting from red to orange to violet. Every year, about 6 million people show up. Some hike it, some raft it. Many of them just come, stand on the rim, take a selfie, and leave. But even that's worth it. The Grand Canyon isn't just on bucket lists. It is the bucket list. People plan for it. They dream about it. Foreigners fly across oceans for it. Americans drive across states. It's a symbol. When European explorers and early Americans saw the Grand Canyon, they weren't poetic. They were stunned, confused, sometimes terrified. Garcia Lopez de Cardenas, the first European to see the canyon, tried to climb down to the river with his men. After 3 days, they gave up. The scale tricked their eyes. They thought the river was close, but it was over a mile below. Every year, people try to hike from rim to river and back in one day. Many fail. Heat stroke, exhaustion, rescues. It's called the death hike for a reason. The infrastructure is solid. You can fly into Flagstaff, Phoenix, or Las Vegas. From there, you have to drive. There are shuttles, buses, and trains. There's even an old-school scenic railway from Williams, Arizona. So, yes, it's accessible, but also, somehow, still wild. Phoenix shouldn't exist. No natural water source, brutal summers, a wild landscape. And yet, here it is, America's 5th largest city and Arizona's capital, thriving in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. They call it the Valley of the Sun, but they don't mention that you'll be slow roasted alive between June and September. The days are so hot that your shoes stick to the pavement and your steering wheel becomes a branding iron. Phoenix is weirdly livable, aggressively clean, surprisingly cultured, and quietly on fire with economic growth. The city was officially incorporated in 1881, and for decades it grew quietly, powered by agriculture and the railroad. The real turning point came with the construction of the Roosevelt Dam in 1911, which secured Phoenix's water supply and unlocked its potential for large-scale development. After World War II, Phoenix exploded. Air conditioning, that miraculous invention, turned life in the desert from unthinkable to mildly tolerable, and retirees from the Midwest arrived in droves. Today, Phoenix covers over 500 square miles, which is a larger area than Los Angeles. It's an urban sprawl of freeway loops, stucco subdivisions, and strip malls. It has no real central core. Rather, it's a patchwork of overlapping suburbs, each with its own flavor. Scottsdale, polished and elegant; Tempe, young and restless; Glendale, family-focused; and Chandler, techy and efficient. Together, they form a metropolis that looks like it's been accidentally designed by a committee of real estate agents. Despite its heat and horizontal expansion, Phoenix is an incredibly outdoor-oriented city. It's surrounded by rugged mountains and public parks, and you're never far from a trailhead. South Mountain Park, the largest municipal park in the U.S., has over 50 miles of hiking and biking trails. The area sees over 22 million domestic visitors each year, attracted by its warm winters, spa resorts, and world-class golf. In fact, the Phoenix-Scottsdale Metro is a pilgrimage site for golfers, with over 200 courses scattered like sand traps across the valley. It should have been a ghost town. In fact, it was, twice. But Tombstone, Arizona keeps getting back up, like the legends that made it famous. This dusty frontier town in the middle of the Sonoran Desert is best known for gunfights, gamblers, and graveyards. But what it really offers is something stranger, a mirror into America's obsession with violence, justice, memory, and myth. Tombstone sits at 4,500 feet in the high desert of southeastern Arizona, about 70 miles southeast of Tucson, in Cochise County. In the late 1870s, it wasn't the scenery people came for, it was the silver. A prospector named Ed Shefflin struck it rich in 1877. When he told soldiers at a nearby fort he was headed into Apache territory to look for ore, they warned him all he'd find was his own tombstone. He named the mine after that warning, Tombstone Mine. October 26, 1881. That's the day everything changed, not for Tombstone, but for how it would be remembered. That's the day of the gunfight at the OK Corral, a 30-second shootout that turned lawmen into legends and lawbreakers into cautionary tales. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, Virgil Earp, and Morgan Earp squared off against the Clanton and McClory brothers, just a few blocks from Fremont Street. The gunfight wasn't the biggest or the bloodiest in the West. It wasn't even particularly decisive. But thanks to newspapers, dime novels, Hollywood, and the American thirst for moral simplicity, it became the template for frontier justice. In the years that followed, Tombstone became less of a town and more of a stage. Today, OK Corral reenactments are staged multiple times daily, with live actors, gunshots, and narration. Walking down Allen Street, the main drag, is like walking through a movie set. Wooden boardwalks, swinging saloon doors, men in dusters and spurs, and women in corsets and feathers. Then you realize that the entire town is a theater. There is a deep blue lake in the middle of the Mojave Desert. It's rimmed with beaches, palm trees, and personal watercraft screaming across the surface like insects. And next to it, a city that somehow manages to be both relentlessly artificial and completely authentic. Lake Havasu and Lake Havasu City aren't here to impress you with elegance. They're here to remind you that fun is a force of nature, even if you have to build the nature yourself. Lake Havasu is a reservoir, not a natural lake. It was created in 1938 when the Parker Dam was completed on the Colorado River, backing up water into a wide stretch between Arizona and California. The lake is about 45 miles long, with over 450 miles of shoreline, depending on water levels. It straddles the border, but feels culturally rooted in Arizona's sunburnt soil. At its core, Lake Havasu is part of the Southwest's massive water infrastructure system. It stores water for pumping to Southern California and Central Arizona. But to most people who come here, that's not what it's about. It's about the escape. from cold, from stress, from anything resembling quiet. Lake Havasu City is a desert mirage with boat ramps and bars. It didn't exist until the 1960s, when businessman Robert P. McCullough, known for chainsaws and outlandish ideas, bought 26 square miles of empty desert and decided to build a recreational city from scratch. He had water, he had money, what he didn't have was a gimmick. So he bought the London Bridge. Yeah, the real one. Dismantled it in England, shipped it across the Atlantic, and then overland to Arizona, where it was rebuilt brick by brick in the middle of the desert, spanning a man-made canal. Why? Because McCullough knew something few people had figured out yet. If you give Americans water, warmth, and just the right amount of absurdity, they'll come. Tucson is a city shaped by extremes. It sits in the blazing Sonoran Desert, yet it's surrounded by mountains dusted with snow. It's an old place, one of the oldest continually inhabited areas in North America. Yet it's also young, full of students, scientists, and tech startups. It's both deeply Mexican and deeply American. The city exists in two countries at once. Roughly 43% of Tucson's population is Hispanic or Latino, and the cultural influence of Mexico, linguistically, gastronomically, and spiritually, is everywhere. Spanish flows in parallel with English. There's also a visible Native American presence, particularly from the Tohono O'odham Nation, whose ancestral lands surround the city to the west and south. Tucson sits in southern Arizona, about 60 miles north of the U.S.-Mexico border, in a broad basin surrounded by 5 mountain ranges. The city runs at a lower frequency than most urban centers. It values cool mornings, long lunches, secondhand bookstores, and outdoor patios. It is full of people who seem to have chosen quality of life over ambition, not laziness, just different values. Still, tourism is a major economic driver. In a typical year, more than 7 million visitors come to the Tucson area. Many arrive in winter and spring to escape colder climates. Snowbirds from the Midwest and Canada, hikers and mountain bikers, bird watchers, stargazers, and food pilgrims. The city has carved out a niche for what could be called intentional tourism. You don't stumble into Tucson, you choose it. And when you do, it tends to reward you with experiences that are layered, local, and lingering. Tucson is also one of the darkest cities of its size in America. By design, the city enforces strict lighting ordinances to protect the work of observatories on nearby mountains. Places like Kitt Peak National Observatory, Mount Lemmon Sky Center, and the University of Arizona's Stewart Observatory make Tucson a global center for astronomy and planetary science. In the Arizona desert, approximately 37 miles east of Flagstaff, lies one of the most scientifically important and visually striking geological formations in the United States, the Meteor Crater, also known as Meteor Crater. It holds a unique and vital place in American geography, planetary science, and our cultural understanding of cosmic vulnerability. The crater is 0.75 miles in diameter, 560 feet deep, and is surrounded by a rim that rises 150 feet above the surrounding plain. It was formed around 50,000 years ago when a nickel-iron meteorite, about 160 feet wide, struck the Earth at an estimated speed of 19 kilometers per second. The impact released energy equivalent to approximately 10 megatons of TNT, hundreds of times more powerful than an average atom bomb. Unlike many impact sites on Earth, Meteor Crater has remained largely intact due to its relatively young geological age and the arid environment that has minimized erosion. It was the first crater on Earth to be recognized as an impact site from a meteorite. In the late 19th century, scientists commonly believed that all large circular craters on Earth were volcanic in origin. This belief persisted until Daniel Barringer, a mining engineer and amateur geologist, challenged the consensus. Today, the crater is privately owned, but you can visit it for around $25. The first time you see it, you don't believe it's real. Not because it's too grand, but because it's too symmetrical. Rivers shouldn't bend like that. The canyon walls shouldn't sweep out in a perfect red arc, 1,000 feet high, cradling a loop of blue-green water. It looks like something designed, like a logo, but it's real. It's Horseshoe Bend, and it might be the single most geometrically satisfying natural feature in North America. Horseshoe Bend is located just outside Page, Arizona, in the state's far northern corner, close to the border with Utah. It's part of the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area and part of the Colorado River as it winds its way toward the Grand Canyon. What you're seeing is the result of millions of years of erosion. The Colorado River, working like a slow blade, cut through layers of Navajo sandstone, creating an incised meander. The result is a near-perfect U-shape with vertical cliffs and a looping river that almost encircles a tall peninsula of stone. It looks like the river changed its mind midstream and decided to curve back on itself. 10 years ago, Horseshoe Bend was barely known outside of geology circles and river rafters. A sandy, unmarked path off Highway 89 led to the overlook. There were no signs, no railings, no parking lot, and no crowds. Today, it draws over 2 million travelers per year, and it's still growing. But why? Because everyone wants a viral photo. Once drone photography and Instagram got hold of Horseshoe Bend, it blew up. It became the perfect digital destination. Symmetrical, colorful, dramatic, and just risky looking enough to make you pause. People saw the view online, then came to see it for themselves. A pilgrimage fueled not by religion or mythology, but by the algorithm. Horseshoe Bend has become a case study in modern tourism pressures. It's a natural wonder that went from obscurity to overexposure in a matter of years. Local officials have done what they can, charge fees, improve trails, manage traffic, but the challenges remain. Some towns age gracefully, others burn bright, then collapse spectacularly. Jerome, Arizona is the latter. Perched on the side of Cleopatra Hill, Jerome is a town that has been many things: a mining camp, a Wild West circus, a ghost town, and now a magnet for tourists. Once upon a time, Jerome was the third largest city in Arizona. Hard to imagine now, considering its population barely cracks 400, but during its copper boom in the early 20th century, the town had hotels, saloons, and more mining accidents than you could politely mention in a church newsletter. Founded in the late 1800s and backed by the United Verde Copper Company, Jerome churned out an obscene amount of wealth, about $1 billion worth of copper, gold, and silver, adjusted for inflation. Of course, with riches came chaos. Jerome developed a reputation as the wickedest town in the West, which is exactly what it sounds like. Shootouts were common, so were fires. And yes, the town literally slid down the hill more than once, thanks to mining tunnels hollowing out the earth beneath it. One jail now sits 200 feet from where it was originally built. When the copper dried up in the 1950s, Jerome emptied out almost overnight. When the town hit rock bottom, hippies and creatives moved in, drawn by cheap rent, eerie beauty, and a total lack of HOA rules. Today, Jerome is packed with studios, galleries, and quirky shops where you can buy everything from fine oil paintings to handmade silver jewelry. Roughly halfway between Phoenix and Flagstaff, Sedona rises out of the desert like a mirage of flame-colored stone. Cliffs glow with rust and coral. Spires shoot up from the earth like warning flares. The town itself is small, only about 10,000 permanent residents, but it receives nearly 3 to 4 million visitors a year. That's an astonishing ratio, and you feel it. The city is built for travelers. It runs on hospitality, wellness, and the pursuit of peace. What draws people here isn't really the shopping or the resorts, it's the landscape. Sedona is located in northern Arizona, in a transition zone between the Sonoran Desert and the Colorado Plateau. What makes the area geologically unique and almost hypnotic is the Red Rock Country, a series of canyons, mesas, buttes, and cliffs carved over millions of years from sandstone and limestone, stained with iron oxide. This is not subtle terrain, it is theatrical. The colors shift from red to orange to blood purple depending on the light. When the sun sets behind Cathedral Rock or Bell Rock, the entire sky seems to go quiet. Even the tourists stop talking. Sedona has been a holy site for Native American tribes for centuries. Some formations were seen as protectors, others as gateways, and some were believed to store ancestral memory, a kind of energetic archive of everything that has happened on the land. You can't talk about Sedona without talking about vortexes, not the wind kind, the spiritual kind, localized spots in the landscape where, according to believers, the Earth's energy spirals in unusual ways. Some vortexes are thought to have masculine or feminine energy, aiding in healing, meditation, or transformation. What's your favorite place in Arizona? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to World Travel Guide.